All right. The other last thing that you need to know is understanding the life cycle of the cray. For when to catch them, where to catch them at different times of the year. Because in Western Australia, our Western rock lobster has a really unique lifestyle. So, majority of the year, they are living on and in the reef system. So you want to put your pot up on or hard up against a nice piece of structure with a nice undercut. Not a square off. Remember, the crays go right back in those cracks and crevices so they don't get eaten under the sea, because we're not the only thing that likes it. There's plenty of sea creatures that love a crayfish as well. So red crays, resident crays that live on and in the reef, which is the majority of our crayfishing. We want our pot up against that nice hard limestone based content in WA. It's fantastic. Now, once a year we have what we call the run of the whites. It's actually a phenomenon where our crayfish live on our inshore nurseries, which is the 5 fathom fat bank to the beach. That's where the pyrrhus or the little eggs drop down in the life cycle. They spawn offshore, the pyrrhus wash in with our currents up and down the west coast to our inshore reef systems, or for a better want to understand it, the nursery system, the protected and sheltered waters. One of the magic things of nature is those eggs or pyrrhus know where that is. They drop down to the sea floor when they are above there. They grow. It takes them about 4 years to grow from a little nymph all the way through to a size cray. Now, one of nature's marvellous things on the full moon in mid-November, and these guys don't have a calendar, remember, or an iPhone or anything on Google to tell them when it's time. They just know it's time. It's time for these kids to leave home. It's time for these kids to make room and keep room in the nursery, in the kindergarten, for the younger crays and the juveniles that are growing up around them. They molt on that full moon in November, and instead of sitting back in the caves and on the limestone and in the weed where they would normally have spent most of their life, they sit pretty much on sand, under as much shelter as they can, but they stand on sand, and that's what gives them that appearance of that lighter or white shell, hence the running of the whites. Now, it takes them a couple of weeks to harden up every time they molt. So they'll molt in that November moon. It takes them a couple of weeks for that shell. They're an exoskeleton, remember, so if they run around when they're soft, all their arms and legs will fall off. Once everything's right, once that shell starts to harden, their migration pattern happens. They have to leave home for the first time, go and find their own abode. They walk pretty much north-northwest on a magnetic line of compass, another one of nature's marvellous things. They head out across the sand, hence the lighter shell gives them a fraction more camouflage, less chance of them being eaten, although there's predators all over the back of them. Now, any crack, crevice, rock that they find along the way where there's room, they will turn that into home and pretty much where they spend the rest of their life. There is a bit of a fallacy about crays walking back in. I hear people say, have the crays walk back in? They don't ever actually walk back in. They just become active and inactive within our inner reef systems based on molting times, times of the year, periods of activity. Clear full moons, clear water, crays are just not active. They don't come out. It's quite simple, because if they go out in those conditions, they get eaten not by us, but by every other predator under the sea. So there's once a year we set our pot on the northwest side of our lump on the sand, because basically the first cray, when he leaves home for the first time, I say it's a bit like you running across the car park naked. You're going to find the first tree or the first car to hide behind. The first thing that they come across, those young juvenile crays that are leaving home, if they come across a place like your cray pot that has food and shelter, they're going to call it home, and hence why you get so many crays on the run of the whites. Keep your pot in front of that cycle and you'll do really well. Apart from that month of the year, it's up against the reef, back up against some cracks, shuffle your pots around, keep your bait fresh, rig it like we said, and you'll have success all season long.